My Aunt Evelyn caught my wrist as I stepped away from the line, like she'd been waiting for me to turn. I still had grease on my hands, burnt oil, soap that never really comes off. I almost pulled away. Didn't. Sienna, where is the $187,500 I sent for you? I laughed. I actually did. Short. Awkward. I think you've got the wrong person. She didn't smile, didn't blink. No, I don't. The kitchen noise carried on behind me, plates striking metal. Someone calling out orders, but it felt distant, like it belonged to another room. My name is Sienna Hayes, 20 years old, I said. I don't have that kind of money. I work here. I pay for my own classes. I said it like it proved something, like it could steady the moment. It didn't. You were never supposed to work here. That didn't make sense. Not with the life I'd been living. I hadn't seen her in years. Not since things at home went quiet in a way no one ever explained. I've been covering everything myself, I said. Every class, every fee. Her eyes dropped briefly to my hands. The grease still caught under my nails. That should never have been your responsibility, she said. Something in my chest shifted, small but sharp. She released my wrist, then reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Then read this. She said, and when I saw my name printed across the first page, I stopped laughing. She didn't hand the folder to me right away, just held it there, steady, like she was waiting for me to see something on my own. Read it, she said. I told you. I don't have read it. Sienna. I wiped my hands on my apron. The grease didn't come off. Still, I took the papers. My name sat at the top. Sienna Hayes. Under it were dates, transfers, $187,500, labeled as a college fund. I read it twice, slower the second time. This isn't mine. I said, it is, she said, calm, certain. I sent it for you. 3 years ago. No one told me anything about this. They wouldn't. I looked up. What does that mean? It means your parents were listed as custodians, she said. They controlled the account until the funds were used. I stared back at the page. Same name, same spelling. Mine. I pay my own tuition. I said. Every class. Every fee. I've been working since I was 17. I know. Something in her voice shifted. Not softer. Heavier. You were never supposed to carry that. I shook my head slowly. Then where did the money go? She didn't answer, just leaned closer and tapped a section near the bottom. Withdrawals, multiple entries, different dates. No explanation. I followed the lines with my finger, one after another, and somewhere between the first date and the last, it stopped looking like a mistake. I sent it myself. Evelyn said, from your grandfather's account. It was set aside for your education. Nothing else. I kept looking at the page. Same name, same numbers. Like if I stared long enough, something would change. You're saying they just used it? I said. They withdrew it over time. She said, which means they knew exactly what they were doing. I shook my head. That doesn't make sense. If they had that kind of money, why would I be working like this? Why would you be here? She said quietly. That stopped me. I've been working double shifts, I said. I skipped a semester last year because I couldn't pay everything at once. Her expression tightened. That should never have happened. I let out a slow breath. Then why didn't anyone tell me I believed they had? She said. I believed you were in school, focused, living the life that money was meant to give you. Her eyes dropped to my hands, grease still under my nails. Not like this, she added. Something shifted inside me. Not loud, just enough to settle into place. So it was planned. I said, the money. It was always meant for me. Yes. And they knew that. Yes. I let out a quiet, uneven laugh. They kept saying we couldn't afford anything. I said, not tuition, not books, not even groceries some weeks. They could. She said, they chose not to use it for you. That landed deeper than anything else. I folded the paper slowly, my hands not as steady as I wanted them to be. Call them, she said. I looked at my phone for a moment. Then I pressed the number. He picked up on the third ring. Yeah, it wasn't even a hello. Dad, it's me. Pause. Short. I'm working. I won't take long. My voice felt tight. Did Aunt Evelyn send money for me for school? Another pause. Longer this time. Then, where did you hear that she's standing right here? A shift. I could hear it. That money was handled, he said. Flat. Handled how for the family. I swallowed. It was for me. It was for this household. He snapped. You lived here, didn't you? Mom's voice came in from the background. Put it on speaker. He didn't. I heard her anyway. Sienna, she said, like nothing was wrong. We had expenses. You don't understand what things cost. I understand what my tuition costs, I said. I've been paying it myself. That's good for you, she said. Builds character. Something in me went quiet. You used it, I said. We used what was necessary. Dad said, that's what parents do. No, I said. Parents don't take money meant for their kid and pretend it never existed. You're being dramatic. I looked at Evelyn. She didn't say anything, just watched. You never told me. I said, there was nothing to tell. Mom said, you're doing fine. Fine. I stared at the floor for a second. Then I said, I'm not. No one answered that. Evelyn didn't wait. We're not guessing. She said, we're verifying. The next morning, I sat across from a man named Harris in a quiet office that smelled faintly of paper and coffee. Mid-50s, clean suit, the kind of person who didn't speak unless he was certain. I was asked to review the account activity, he said, sliding a folder toward me. The funds were placed in an education account. Your parents were listed as custodians, which gave them control over withdrawals. I understand that part, I said. I don't understand where it went. He opened the folder, pages filled with dates and entries. They withdrew the funds in increments, he said. That matters. It shows intent. Evelyn leaned forward. Walk her through it. He tapped the first section. $68,000. Vehicle purchase. I stared at the page. They said the car was financed, that we couldn't afford anything else that year. He turned the page. $41,000. Home renovation. I let out a slow breath. That was the kitchen. The same year I dropped a semester. He nodded once and continued. $32,000. Credit card balances. Multiple accounts. Silence settled in. They told me we were behind on bills. I said that I needed to help more. Harris didn't react. His voice stayed even. These withdrawals were categorized to appear justified, but taken together, they show a pattern. A pattern of what I asked. Using funds designated for you, he said, to support unrelated expenses. I looked down at the numbers again. All of it lined up too cleanly. So they used almost everything. I said, almost. He replied. Evelyn's voice tightened. What's left? Harris paused, then turned to the final page. There is one more entry, he said, and suddenly, whatever remained in that account didn't feel like the real issue anymore. Harris didn't look at me when he said it. There's a line of credit, he went on, opened in your name. I felt my stomach drop. What he slid the page across. My name again. Same spelling, same everything. $22,000, he said. Opened 18 months ago. Multiple charges. Active balance. I didn't open anything. I said. My voice came out sharp. I've never even had a credit card. I believe you, he said. Calm. Too calm. Evelyn leaned in. Who authorized it? He tapped the signature line. It appears to have been processed with your information, he said. Social security number, address, all valid. That doesn't mean it was me, I said. No, he said. It doesn't. The room felt smaller, like the air got heavier. They used my name, I said. It sounded slower now, like I needed to hear it out loud. Yes, he said. For what general expenses? Retail, utilities, some cash advances. I let out a short laugh. Didn't mean to. They couldn't afford groceries, I said, but they could open debt under me. Evelyn's jaw tightened. This crosses into fraud. Harris nodded. It does. I stared at the numbers. $22,000, sitting there like it belonged to me. I've been paying my tuition in full, I said, working nights, skipping classes when I couldn't cover it. No one interrupted. They told me that was responsibility. I looked up. This isn't responsibility, I said. This is them using me. Evelyn didn't hesitate. We're not letting this stand. Harris closed the folder. This changes everything, he said. Yeah, it did. I didn't say anything for a while after that. Just sat there, staring at the numbers like they might change if I waited long enough. They didn't. Something else came up instead. A memory I hadn't thought about in a while. I said it out loud before I even decided to. They saw me, I said. Evelyn looked at me. What do you mean? One night, I said. I came home after a double shift. I couldn't feel my hands. I sat at the table and just stayed there. I could still hear the fridge humming. Loud. Too loud for a small kitchen. They were both there, I said. Watching TV. Evelyn didn't interrupt. I told them I might drop a class. I couldn't keep up with the payments. Harris stayed quiet, just listening, and my mom looked at me and said, I paused. The words still felt wrong. That's your choice. Silence again. I remember thinking she didn't get it. I said, like maybe I hadn't explained it right. Evelyn's voice was low. She understood. Yeah, I said. That's the part that's hitting now. I leaned back in the chair, let out a breath. They had the money, the whole time. No one argued with that. They watched me struggle, I said. And they said nothing. Evelyn didn't soften it. That's not neglect, she said. That's a decision. I nodded. Slow. It wasn't that they couldn't help. I said. I looked down at my hands again. Still dry. Still rough. They decided I wasn't worth it. Evelyn didn't give me time to sit with anything. This didn't start with me. She said, it started with your grandfather. I looked up. He sent the college money. Yes, she said. But before he passed, he asked me to keep an eye on how it was used. He had concerns. Harris nodded. Your grandfather created a separate trust. I'm listed as co-trustee with Ms. Evelyn. I frowned. A trust for what? In case the education funds were mishandled, Evelyn said. He didn't accuse your parents, but he didn't rely on them completely either. I let that settle, so he thought this might happen. He hoped it wouldn't, she said, but he planned for the possibility. Harris slid a document toward me. This one looked more formal. Legal language. Signatures. This trust is valued at approximately $1,600,000, he said. It's held separately and wasn't accessible to your parents. I didn't reach for it. It doesn't release automatically, Evelyn added. There are conditions written into it, like what I asked. Documented misuse of the original funds, Harris said, and evidence that you were denied the support those funds were meant to provide. I let out a slow breath. So everything we just found meets those conditions, he said. The word sat there, heavy. Meets, like something had been measured without me knowing. They made their choices, Evelyn said. This is the result. I looked at the document again, then away. I didn't earn that. I said. Evelyn didn't soften. You lived through what they chose to do, she said. That wasn't the same thing, but it explained more than I wanted it to. We didn't warn them. Evelyn said it was better that way. Let them talk first. She told me, people reveal more when they think they're safe. So we showed up on a Sunday. Same house, same table. The smell of something overcooked in the oven. Nothing looked different. That part almost got me. Mom smiled like nothing had happened. You should have called. Dad barely looked up. You eating or just stopping by? Evelyn didn't sit. We're not here for dinner, she said. That shifted it. Just a little. Harris stepped in behind us, set a folder on the table. Dad noticed that. What is this, he said. Documentation. Harris answered. Related to $187,500 designated for Sienna Hayes. Mom's smile dropped. That's not necessary, she said. We already explained no. Evelyn cut in. You justified. You didn't explain. Dad leaned back. This is family business. I heard myself speak before I thought it through. No, I said. This is my life. They both looked at me then. Really looked. I kept going. You told me we had nothing. I said. You told me to figure it out. We gave you a roof. Mom said. Tight. Defensive. You had the money. I said. The whole time. Dad's voice hardened. We used it where it was needed. I nodded once. Yeah, I said. Just not on me. Silence hit the table hard. I didn't raise my voice. You didn't lose anything, I said. You decided I wasn't worth it. No one had a response for that. And for the first time, I didn't need one. The apartment isn't big. One room, thin walls, pipes that hum when the water runs. But the key turns clean in the lock, and no one else has a copy. I moved in 3 weeks after that dinner. No announcement. Just a lease in my name and a door I could close. Evelyn came by once. She stood just inside, taking it in. You don't have to limit yourself, she said. The trust is active. $1,600,000 is available. I know. She waited, like she expected more. I'll use it, I said, just not all at once. It's yours. I know. That's why I'm careful with it. She nodded slowly. Your grandfather believed you would be. I picked up a statement from the table. Tuition. Paid. On time. No scrambling. No extra shifts. I used to think I was doing something wrong. I said, like if I worked harder, it would finally be enough. Evelyn didn't interrupt. It wasn't about effort. I said, it was about what they chose to do. She held my gaze. And now I decide what happens next. She gave a small nod and let herself out. The room felt quiet after she left. Not empty. Just settled. I'm not pretending it didn't happen. I'm not trying to prove anything to them either. I'm just building something that isn't tied to what they took. It's slower than I expected, but it's steady. And for the first time, it's actually mine.